This is Tom's Legacy, and I am so excited about this horse. I couldn't be happier with him. This is his first ride today. He just got here yesterday, and but he's been off the track for 2 years. He's a 5-year-old. He's probably about 16-1. I haven't stuck him. He's very big bodied, 16-1, 16-2 hand range, 5-year-old thoroughbred gelding by Cloud Computing. And this horse, he only had 4 starts. He came off the track as a 3-year-old. So he came off the track in September of 2023. And he came through benchmark. And actually, I, of course, did his first couple of rides there. At the time, I was riding there a ton. And, I actually thought he was a little bit of an annoying 3-year-old because he was just very lazy and he would get stuck in the corners. But obviously, he was gorgeous and, really nice mover when you did get him in front of your leg. So anyway, a friend of mine who I used to board with, what feels like a lifetime ago, who I used to board with in Davidsonville, Maryland at Friend's Choice Farm, which I actually don't think does boarding anymore. But nonetheless, we were boarding buddies. Our horses were stalled next to each other. And so she actually ended up buying this horse. Her longtime personal horse at the time was having some soundness issues. They weren't sure what was going to happen with that. So she bought Tom to be, so she had a riding horse. But now, luckily for her, her longtime horses, come sound. He's back in full work. She has a full-time job, so it's just a lot of work to keep 2 horses going when you have a full-time job. So she reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in Tom. And my first gut was actually kind of like, I don't know, because I thought he was a little bit annoying as a 3-year-old, but she sent me a whole bunch of video of him, and it was obvious that he'd grown up immensely over the last 2 years, and she just did a phenomenal job with him. I thought he looked so great in all her videos, and she's taken him to some little local hunter shows and things like that. So he's really gotten a fantastic background for a young horse, and she's taken it really slow with him and not pressured him to do any big crazy stuff. So his brain is just seems exactly where you would hope it would be. So anyway, nonetheless, today I got on him for the first time, and I really couldn't be more pleased. I'm riding him in a loose ring snaffle, and I actually think that that's too much bit. He's really soft in his mouth, and if anything, he has a little bit of a tendency to want to get behind or below the vertical. So next time he'll come out in the Hermspringer Duo in all likelihood, which is a much softer bit, just in hopes of getting him to poke out his nose a little bit. I like how his frame is right here. This was after we'd been riding for a few minutes and I got him in front of my leg and all the things. But I do think that he would be even better in a softer bit. So when I first got on him, he was so funny. I asked him to trot, and he basically just wanted to trot in a Western jog. The horse is so quiet. It's funny because he only had 4 starts and he never hit the board. I think his best placing was like 8th place. So he's a pretty terrible racehorse. And he is just such a quiet riding horse. So I actually am riding in little spurs, which I almost never do first rides in little spurs, but I do remember my rides on him from as a 3-year-old. And so I was glad I had my little spurs on because they did help me to get him kicked up and out of the Western jog. And we did find a real trot here, which was really nice. So the horse just has a beautiful way of going. He is very easy to ride. He's been very correctly brought along. His canter is fantastic. His left is a little bit easier than the right. He just has a little bit easier time, more naturally bending to the left. Like if you just watched him come around that corner there to the right, he just sort of leaned on that right shoulder a little bit. So certainly we'll be working on finding a bit more flexion to the right and moving off that right leg, doing some basic lateral work. But, that's picking. The horse is delightful. He was a pleasure to ride today. I was smiling from ear to ear. I just am so impressed with how much he's grown up in the last 2 years and how well he's been developed. And I sort of feel guilty, like I'm getting to show off this horse, but it wasn't me who did all the work. So props to the people who had him the last 2 years because they did a fantastic job. And so because the left is his little bit more natural direction, he always wants to canter on the left lead. In fact, when we first started trotting at all, he would do his Western jog. And then when I would ask him to trot a bit bigger, he would want to step into the left lead canter. So the only thing was it took us a couple of minutes to sort out that actually you can trot a little bigger without cantering. And then we got that, and that was all lovely. To the right, I think I asked him to canter 2 or 3 times. And he picked up the left lead before he picked up the right lead. But he did a beautiful right lead transition when he did get it. So I do not find that concerning at all. he will obviously get it. He has a beautiful canter in both directions. And then his trot work when he came out of that right lead canter was just lovely. So I decided to circle back to the left one more time because I really just felt like I had him much more through than I did when we first started out. He was much more in front of my leg and covering some ground in his trot. There, I like his frame there. He's right on the vertical. This horse is stunning in person. We didn't do confo pictures today because it was just Alyssa and I, so I need Billy for that, but I cannot wait to take his confirmation pictures because he is just an absolutely gorgeous specimen of a thoroughbred. And there he's just a little bit behind the vertical. That's what I mean about, I think the softer rubber bit would help with that, help him to encourage to come out to the end of the rein. I like his frame there. I think he's just lovely. So the only thing I'll say to pick on this horse is that he's very well mannered on the ground. He's very sociable, loves people, wants attention, all the things, stands nicely on cross ties, all that stuff. But being led, if you do not lead him, he will lead you. So when you're handling him, leading him anywhere on the ground, you just need to be assertive that you are the one that is doing the leading and not vice versa. And I think that I will get that probably sorted out here in the next week or so, and it probably won't even be a thing worth mentioning anymore. But right now, I'm just extra aware, and I told Alyssa too, if you're leading this horse, make sure that it's very clear that he's not telling you where you're going. You are telling him where he's going. But other than that, I mean, that's my biggest complaint about him, which is a very small complaint.